this is real. Like what you're seeing now.
This real.
Yeah, this real.
I love how you're like pointing at the screen.
I was
She's
looking.
below you,
Yeah,
like come
down,
on. It's
down here. Like,
you literally do it. The guest is in the same place every week. They're right there. Welcome to True Talk. I'm GrindheadJim. Tonight, we have some fun things to talk about and some not so fun things to talk about. We're here to keep you up to date on the comings and goings of the gaming community at large, and sometimes that news can be bad. With that in mind, let's get into it. The serious stuff. There was a shooting in Jacksonville, Florida over the weekend at an eSports event. Our hearts are with all of those involved and their families. We're going to discuss the implications for the gaming community because, let's face it, this has never happened to us before. No politics, we promise. Also, there's a software developer out there who's trying to help educators identify and help troubled teens in need to help prevent suicide. Finally, Epic and Google are getting into a lover's quarrel of sorts over potential exploits revealed in the Epic Games launcher for Android. GamerDad, tell me the good stuff.
Well, Epic is upping the ante with security and promoting a free dance emote if you enable their two-factor authentication, taking advantage of the greed of the gamer, and that may serve a little benefit here. And in light of all the sad news this weekend, there is a bright, shining spot in Twitch Creative and IRL. Business Insider did a rather inspiring article on some of the key names of those two categories, as well as the upcoming changes to tags. And finally, you're all excited about it. You probably watched it. Project Red released more teasers about with actual footage of Cyberpunk 2077, which might actually be released in 2077. But before we get into all of that, I'd like to introduce you to our special guest, Malleteditor. How you doing, Mallet?
Hi, I'm good. I'm fabulous.
So to start this off, why don't you give us a little bit of an overview about who you are as a streamer, your channel, how you got started in Twitch, and everything like that.
Well, I'm Malleteditor, and I suck at Overwatch. Yeah, basically, I suck at Overwatch. I got a nice, big, fancy computer when I moved out of my parents' house last year, and I was with my boyfriend McKittens, who some of you might know also through TRUgaming, and he used to stream. And I thought, you know what? Hey, that'd be cool. Why not? And I started streaming Overwatch. I have been hard stuck in gold for the last year, and that's okay. I suck, but it's fun. And I literally stream because it's fun.
Let me just say you're better than me at Overwatch. If that says
I play every night for hours. Compared to you play like once a week at most.
That's
to be fair. You know, streaming because it's fun is the best reason. If you stream for any other reason, you're probably not streaming for the right reasons. So you have one of the hardest things about Twitch down. So there is that. There is that. And my hat, well, it can't be off because it's underneath the headset, but you know, it would be off proverbially, if we will. So Malleteditor. I love it. I think it's catchy, but what the hell does it mean?
It's incredibly literal. Throughout high school and college, I was a percussionist in the school band, specifically focusing on xylophones and other mallet instruments. Nice. And then I'm a video editor on the side. I started doing that in college. So it's
there you go.
Not nearly as cool of a story as people think. It's horribly literal, and I started using it back in college for Instagram way before I even started streaming.
Way back in college on Instagram. Like there's no such thing as way back and on Instagram that in my old brain can be put together. Like, way back is like on Polaroid film would be on way back.
Even for me, I'm starting to get reunion like comments for college graduation. Forget high school graduation. So I'm
I'm sorry.
Look,
I'm
buddy,
sorry.
it's been 15 and a half years since my first divorce. So, all right.
Okay.
You want me to
go? Win.
Okay. Right. 11 years since my second divorce. So there's that too.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah. Well, it took me 8 years to get a 4-year degree. So.
Well, that doesn't surprise me at all, man. Doesn't surprise me.
Oh,
dude, you set it up. I knocked it down.
That's going to do it for True Talk tonight. Everybody have a great night. We'll see you next week.
I thought we were bowling, bro.
So
how can you not expect me to just be like, You just knocked that down, dude.
You guys can see what keeps me motivated to keep doing this with Jim. But Mallet, what keeps you streaming on Twitch? Did you like that transition there, Jim? Did you like it?
I mean, it was passable. I'll allow it.
I keep streaming, well, one, because it's fun, and two, because I like making people happy, and I feel like I'm able to do that, whether it's through streaming or whether it's, being positive or going into other people's streams or whatever. I like making other people happy, and I like to do that through streaming.
I think that sells it right there. There's no better reason.
I'm sold. I was sold before, but
yeah.
If I wasn't, I would be now.
If you guys haven't had the chance to meet Mallet in person, she's been at a couple of the cons with McKittens and with the rest of the TRUgaming crew that was able to make it. She is a blast to chat with and always has a smile on her face, probably because McKittens is like hovering around her, right? She's always happy around him.
She's smiling literally like right now. Like, look, it's right there.
Is he watching this?
She's smiling right now.
No, he's still at work. Well, he might have just gotten out of work, but I think he's still at work.
Yeah, she's this is real. Like what you're seeing now. This
real.
This real.
I love how you're like pointing at the screen.
I was looking.
Yeah, like come on.
Here.
You literally do it. The guest is in the same place every week. They're right there.
There we go. I'm just gonna point up towards you two, and then we're pointing.
Right. Oh my!
I failed.
All right, don't worry, guys. We're gonna get back to the fun. But I think that it would be a disservice to those involved if we didn't talk about this in some fashion. Okay, and I'm just gonna yank the Band-Aid off. Jacksonville. There was a Madden tournament in Jacksonville. It was in what I gather from the news article and the different things that I saw and read, that this particular venue is in like a Galleria kind of thing where it's like an open air. They have different restaurants and stuff like that, and they have this kind of a courtyard kind of thing where they did it. And my understanding of it, then this may change with regard to what law enforcement says or so forth. There was someone who was reportedly involved with the event, was a competitor, reportedly lost his ranking, lost his games, came back to the event brandishing a firearm, began shooting during a match, which was captured on video. Thankfully, I don't think anyone in the video was hurt, but several people were shot, subsequently lost their lives. Others were injured, and it is very shocking to hear. Actually, you guys know I do technical support on the phone, and I'm sitting at my desk and I'm listening to this customer, and they said, by the way, there was a shooting in Jacksonville. They said it so casually, like it was just like something that happens. And I was like, what? So I went and I looked for it, and I got the information. And we've seen shootings at schools. We've seen shootings at movie theaters. We've seen shootings under all manner of circumstances. But this is the first one at a gaming event that I can ever remember. And it's something that I think was going to eventually happen, just because as long as there's the possibility of a shooting, there's only so many different places it can occur. And I think that, given the competitive nature of what we're doing in esports, it unfortunately makes sense that this would have happened under those circumstances. And I had a friend comment that he was glad not to be a part of that particular gaming community because he felt like this other community might be different. It's not about that. It's about all gamers. It's about all people having the right to compete and entertain and be entertained safely. Whatever solution you think there is, something has to be done, I feel, because people should be able to compete and be entertained and entertain in peace. Again, personally, my heart goes out to all the families of those involved. Even the family of the shooter, because I guarantee you that morning when they woke up, they weren't expecting to have, a dead son, brother, nephew, whatever. I was obviously troubled. This occurred, and many families' lives were changed for the worse. And I hope that closure and as much peace as possible comes to them. When did you guys find out about this? What are your thoughts?
I think I might have found out about it around the same time you did, unless you had known about it prior to getting that Discord message that I got with the CNN link, but I had just seen it. I felt very distanced or removed from the situation because I've only seen it through news articles. Fortunately, I didn't know anybody there. I have friends in Jacksonville, but I didn't know anybody actively at the event. So, it was it's just only been what I've seen through text, and I don't know. It's hard to process because you're right. It does kind of affect the gaming community,
Right.
but at the same time, you almost wonder if it could have been any event at that place.
Right.
It could have been that event at any other place. We don't know. So it's kind of I don't know. It leaves you at a loss for words to struggle to process what's actually happening.
Right. And I feel the same way regardless of where it occurs and under the circumstances, in as much as there's never a one of them. Well, I understand how this goes. I can metabolize this quickly. It's loss of life.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't. There's no change there, but to me, there's an added sense of shock because of the circumstances of it being at a gaming event, which I'm not going to sit here and say that I thought we're always going to be safe. Oh, it'll never happen to us. But I always did kind of think that there was a lesser possibility because of the way gamers tend to band together, especially at events like this. So it was. I just didn't ever expect this to happen, even though in my head I knew it was possible. Mallet, give us your perspective on this.
I'm not sure how quickly I saw it, but I was watching the Overwatch All-Star game. So I saw it as soon as it went up on Twitter, but it actually hit a little bit closer to home for me because I had a friend competing in that tournament. Thankfully, he lost the day before and wasn't there at the venue that day, but he was one of my only friends in high school. So it kind of hit a little bit closer to home, thinking it's like, okay, wow. And just like what you two were saying, I compete in amateur tournaments for Overwatch usually. And it's like, I go to these conventions, I do, and it's like, it's relatively low security, no bag checks, no anything like that. Thousands of people wandering around who knows how many different buildings, and you don't think about it until something happens. And now all of a sudden it's like, I'm scheduled to go to other conventions, and it's like, okay, am I going to be okay now? Or are we all going to be okay now?
Right.
It puts you more on edge.
It does. I remember the first time that something like this happened at a music concert back when Dimebag was killed in 2004. And we all, for the first 9 months or so, it was just like, hey, are we going to be safe? As musicians and, and concert goers alike, we're like, are we safe? And that slowly over time kind of staved off. And I feel like the same thing's going to happen with gaming events as well, although you are going to see bag checks, things like that. But there's this tendency for people to overreact in the moment and then to kind of metabolize it as just part of everyday thing. And whether or not there are changes made to prevent this outside of gaming, right, for our conversations, irrelevant. But I wonder how this is going to affect. And I do feel like we're going to see some increased security, especially at the bigger cons. I think that eSports events are going to see more pressure to provide security and so forth. I wonder, do you guys think maybe that there should be some kind of a screening for people who are participating in these events? And do we go to that place? Like, where do we go? How far do you go to protect yourself from a gaming perspective, from a participant perspective? Because physical security only accounts for so much.
So, Mallet, I'll let you go ahead and jump into that first, since I know you've actually gone to a few events for competitive gameplay.
I mean, to me, I don't feel that you should go to the point where you're individually screening people who want to participate in tournaments, because it's like one of the most fun I ever had at a tournament was a team that we threw together that day. Half of us, we met at the tournament venue. And lots of times, as many people have said, for many different situations, you never know what's going on inside somebody's head. You don't, you know, you don't know what could trigger somebody. You don't know what somebody's dealing with. I mean, and to lock somebody out because of a possibility of something, that's not the kind of life I think I want to live or that anybody wants to live.
I think I'm with you there. I mean, I've gone to a couple of events at the convention center here. You know, Playthrough comes to mind, and that's a very big packed event with lots. And there's several tournaments there. There's open board games. There's demos. There's all sorts of interactions there. And you know, if I were to hear about people, you know, to your point, Mallet, being locked out because this person had this kind of criminal history from so many years ago, or you know, just some misunderstanding that flagged something in their history, and they're like, no, you can't come in. I think that might be. I don't think we're there, but I do know, like, I was able to, and honest truth, accidentally get like a different, instead of a guest badge, I got like a booth badge when I walked in and just verbally said, I'm with this group, and they're like, oh well, here you go, and they gave me one of the vendor badges instead of a guest badge. No check of ID, nothing. So there is both extremes, right? I could freely just walk in. I don't know if I'm ready to see metal detector things like you see at the airport, walking through and you got people kind of checking you down. But I would like to see a little bit more. I don't even know if you want to include identification with it, but I would like to see a little bit more help in people coming in and out, because just a random onlooker walking in or out could mean anything, could mean nothing. But you know, it feels like that's what it's missing.
I mean, I walk around whenever I go to conventions. I always usually have a bag on me full of who knows what kind of stuff. Usually, you know, ranging anywhere from a keyboard and a mouse to, you know, Advil and stuff for just all day cons. And no one's ever asked to look in my bag.
Right.
Ever. Right.
And I'm going to leave kind of one last thought on this. I do want to play the opposite side of this real quick. And then we're going to get into some of the more positive sides of screening the scary stuff. But the lines to get into a con are long. The lines to get into a con suck. They have not mastered the entrance into a con, and I'm sure that is one of the reasons why they're afraid to add in further scrutiny into security, because it's going to take even longer to get in. And even something as small as Playthrough, by comparison to the larger cons in the United States, it took forever to get in. And you know, that could be a loss of potential guests coming into the event, because not only does it take long now, I've got to wait longer because I've got to go through security. So I could see that side of it too, but they've got to get better.
Two things on that. One, get any convention organizer on the phone right now. Would you rather lose guests or have someone murdered at your convention?
I know the answer to that right away.
Exactly.
So that's a no-brainer. And I think that if you put it in those terms, they're going to up the security if they have to. Secondly, when I went to Guardian Con last year, they did search bags. They had metal detectors. So you went there, they searched your bag, they went brip, 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 and you were good. So basically your initial getting in there, you were searching all that stuff. And it did take a very long time, and I got sunburned to prove it. And then the second, this year, although I did not go, it was at a different venue where all the entry took place inside. It was air conditioned. And my understanding is that the same kind of things were done, and I have a feeling they will be done the same next year, if not with a slightly more heightened security. And I feel like it's something that you have to do. And I think one has to acknowledge the context of behavior, and what it could be possible. And rather than turning a blind eye to it and just hoping people have the best intentions, taking steps to protect people is important, which brings us to our next article, which is talking about how there's a company called GoGuardian Beacon. And what they do is they help monitor computer usage for school students, which in and of itself I think is a good idea, because you want people to be doing the right thing at school. But they went a step further. They work with suicide prevention experts, and the software will alert school and staff in real time if there's something that sets off an alarm. And they basically, if you do like a Google search for how to tie a noose, that's going to trigger what they call active planning event versus something, someone looking up the statistics of people who commit suicide would fall under like general suicide research, but it still gets flagged, that sort of thing. And each school has their own way of configuring the beacon software. There's ways to like automatically contact local authorities and the kids' parents, and there's different things that you can kind of drill down to how much you want to monitor, how much you want to automatically trigger, things like that. And I think that I would be hard pressed to find a situation where this isn't necessarily a good idea. Because in a school, just like within, like I would feel like you should be able to do this at most businesses for like enterprise computers too. Because when you use a computer at a school or at a job, there is no expectation of privacy because they belong to the school, they belong to the corporation, and most of your IT policies will state that very plainly somewhere in either your onboarding material for your job or on the library wall or what have you. So given that, we already have a place where they're going to monitor your usage no matter what, for whatever, it's already going to happening. So why not put something in place that can help stop something awful from happening? You know, what do you guys think about this? Because there is the other side of this where, well, if they're monitoring for suicide, are they going to monitor for other stuff too? And how far do you take it? I get that side of it, but on its most basic, pure level, I think this is good. What do you guys think?
I'm all for the general concept. I have honestly not understood enough about the kind of the guidance around implementation, right? Because the theory and the implementation are two very different things in my mind, coming from my background in software. So yeah, I think it's very helpful to have this, but if each of the schools are going to have their own kind of adjustment to it, you know, I worry if some schools might be overprotective and some schools might not be protective enough because of the lack of understanding of the mental illness that comes with these sorts of risks. Because I think we're, as a group, very young in our maturity of understanding the general mindset versus the kind of ways to prevent it. And some people are probably better than others at identifying and working with. So, you know, I'd ask lots of questions to my local schools on if they were looking at the better resourcing, or what kind of educational programs are they providing to the staff at the school to work with this correctly. Because I don't think that's something you can just drop in on a school with teachers and administrators as is. There needs to be education there.
True. And I think that's true of anything. You don't just drop a fire hose at a fire station and say, well, here, just use it, unless they've been trained, you know? So
what do you think, Mel? My concern would actually be towards, okay, yeah, we flagged something. Now what? If, as someone who has been in that mindset before, it's very difficult to be willing to speak to somebody else about it. And someone younger than we are, somebody who's still dealing with all the pressures and social expectations, if they're called into the office or whatever to speak to a counselor, would they really say anything? Would it just cause them to be sneakier about it? So I guess my question would be, could it end up doing more harm than good and just cause students to go underground?
I would question parental reaction as well, because you know, depending on the generation of the parent, the mindset of the parent, what their kind of history or understanding or even respect for the topic would really come into play. You know, no disrespect to my parents, but if I were in a situation where I were to be flagged in that school system, even if it was like a moderate risk or a defined or a definite risk, or you know, whatever, and then they call my parents and they're like, oh well, your son was on the school computers and some of their behavior and keystrokes flagged them as a suicide risk, and you know, how would the parents even react? Like, you know, so Mallet, you're right, it probably would remove the student. So you know, it really scares me for it's the education. You know, it's really the education of the subject.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, I think that it sheds a light on the idea that having a tool that can identify behavior doesn't replace or preclude the responsibility of an educational body or parents from understanding the problem and learning ways on how to deal with it. With that understanding, and if it's implemented in that way that there's real care and real effort put into what happens when you flag it, you know what I mean? If that's the case, I'm good from a universal perspective. But I'll tell you this much, you know, as a parent, if this was the only way to save a child in my care from harming themselves, do it. At the 100%. End of the day, you know?
Absolutely.
So yes, there's a lots of like iffy stuff there, like how far do you go, privacy, this and that, blah 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 blah. I gotta be honest with you, I'm not gonna give much of a shit about my child's privacy if they're dead. Right. You know, absolutely. I hate to be so blunt about it, but there's a certain point where you have to say, when, you know, I send one of my kids to school, I don't worry about their privacy when it comes to their care. There's a big difference between, you know, these things. We're not talking about adults out in the wild and their privacy and your rights to like keep your personal information and all this stuff. And certainly they're flagging very specific behavior. For example, they're not saying, well, if they look up goats, we have to make sure that they're not into bestiality. Like, it's not that, you know what I mean? Goats are awesome though, by the way. They are. So
they scream like children.
Right. And to be 100% transparent here, you know, like if there's one thing that I learned growing up, it's that the things you do in high school, the things that you are, you know, people will always make assumptions about who you are, what you do, and everything else. That stuff doesn't tend to stick unless you stay in that town, that small town of 500 people, and that's it. So for small town people, this will suck. For everybody else, deal with it, in my opinion.
You know, I do think that this sort of advancement, you know, is a great way of kind of bringing to light just a subject that needs more attention.
Yes.
People doing something proactively to help prevent another potential large news break, you know, of this just happened, whether it's so, you know, there's lots of things going on out there for people to try and help prevent you know, just risks, and it kind of helps me to transition into another a much lighter subject, right? So I'm moving us over to a little bit happier
Bad
subject.
Stuff over, good stuff.
Good. We're on to the good stuff now. Let's talk about greedy Fortnite gamers. If you want, right? V-Bucks are expensive because they cost money. You can get a free emote now. So what
you
Epic
technically can get free emotes anyway.
Yeah, you technically can, but there's a new one that they're showing off for everybody, and all you have to do is turn on two-factor authentication to protect your account. So, double bonus, right? You protect your account, you get free stuff, and Epic Games is happy. You know, I've heard people mock the security behind Epic Games, so, you know, turning on two-factor.
What security?
Yeah. Well,
can you eat it?
Can I eat it? I mean, I'm hungry. Nah.
Okay.
But in all honesty, like, you figure, make no mistake, this is the biggest game in the world right now.
Yes.
It's free. Everyone has played it at least once, it seems like. There are 4 people living in this house. All 4 of us have played it at least once.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Of all age levels, right? And it's important that when you have things that are affecting all ages, that do have money attached to them and so forth, that it's important that because these free accounts that you put money into, So there's some folks that put a lot of money in their Fortnite account, and just like any other game where you can buy consumables and things like that, it's bound to come up eventually that it's going to be a sought after thing. Like we had, Counter-Strike for a long time had this kind of a thing going on. WoW, you'll see WoW accounts go on sale for like ridiculous amounts of money, and I would imagine Destiny accounts at some point have gone on sale. I snuck that in there. But at the end of the day, like, this is just a company going out of its way to encourage people to protect themselves from hijacking. So I like it. I get it.
I mean, Blizzard's already been doing this with their accounts, right? Mallet?
Yeah, I had to actually reset my two-factor authentication when I moved, because I had not only changed my phone number, but I had wiped my phone after changing the phone number before moving.
Oh no!
So
that's the
I had to
death
be like,
sentence for a Twitch account.
Oh, it is. It really is. But I was okay because Authy is an account-based thing, which what you use for Twitch. It's a little bit different. But in the case of Blizzard's Authenticator, you had to like, here's my cat, my dog, my kid, my hats. Here's how many gray hairs I have. My favorite band. Here's a stool sample. Freaking,
Ew.
I didn't, not really. Well, the thing is, I took the bar stool, I took a knife, and I just nicked the end of it, and I set him the splinter, stool sample. What'd you think it was? Oh, you're gross. Man,
Good night, everybody.
We can't.
Night, everybody.
Good night. Jim's talking about bar stools. No, but I think it's good, and I think it's a good way to incentivize people for that. I don't, it is what it is.
Mallet, would you turn on two-factor on Overwatch if you got like a diva skin?
I don't play diva, but I have two-factor on anyway.
I tried. I knew an Overwatch character without having to look it up. Can't you give me some credit? Come on.
Actually, funnily enough, I've been to 2 different tournaments where the facility has gotten IP banned by Blizzard because a bunch of people would come in and forget their logins. And like the entire like the Durham Bowl Stadium in Durham, the entire facility got IP banned.
Just get LastPass, people. Just get it already.
So security to me, especially given just the sheer number of people playing Fortnite, and especially given the range of ages of people playing Fortnite, the number of different financial accounts or who knows what is connected to these accounts. So yeah, I think it's super important, and the more security you have, the better.
Right. Which makes it very confusing when one considers that Google came out and said, hey, Epic, why you insecure, bro? Tell us about what we're talking about here. Yeah.
So I haven't really been able to dig much into this other than it just really feels like people not wanting to take ownership for a situation and calling each other out, right? We know that Android,
I agree.
Android has been the last, is it the last, well, say console or media to get Fortnite? Isn't it pretty much everywhere else?
Right. And part of the reason that that's the case is that Epic's been kind of like, yeah, we don't want to do this much revenue sharing with you for something that's free. Like we're giving out the app for free, and then you're going to take, I think, what is it, some crazy amount, like 30% of their take, which is like, dude, just for hosting it, forget it. And after saying we're not doing this, they get their own launcher. And the fact of the matter is this: the exploit that's being bandied about for this Epic launcher for Android is the same, quote, exploit, unquote, that any sideloaded app potentially has on some level. Okay. It's the nature of sideloading apps. And Google's like, oh, that's insecure. And it's like, well, yeah, it technically is. You're absolutely right. But I have seen plenty of malicious code injections on, there's tons of malicious code out there in approved Google apps. So I don't care. Like they're having this little, basically Google wants Epic's money. Epic's like, no. And Google's like, but this is a security risk to our customers and blah. Now I saw the article, and I will be the first one to admit that I had the knee-jerk reaction of, well, I don't want any of the kids installing this on Android. And then I realized what it was, and I'm like, that's not. Now, am I still going to install it? Probably. because I just don't care. I don't. It's something that I'd rather wait to see what Epic has to really say about this before actually moving forward in either direction. I don't want to decry it. I don't want to say it's fine. It sounds scary, which is, I think, what Google was going for.
Oh, yeah, scare tactics, of course.
Right, but it really does feel like they don't want to give us money, so we're going to... is what it sounds like to me. It really plays out like it to me. In one big corporate... to me. And it's freaking stupid. It's really dumb.
I mean, in my mind, Epic has this opportunity to now engage many, many, many more customers, because whether people in the Apple world want to admit it or not, there's a lot of Android people out there. Look at me. There's a lot of Android people out there.
Way more. Way more.
Shocking.
I'll put it this way. I do tech support for one particular company at this moment. And I used to do tech support for a wireless carrier that had all companies' devices. When I was with a wireless carrier that did that, I had this many Apple, this many Android. They out there. These big. These real big. All right.
They both have tons of benefits, and I don't want to. I can already imagine that chat is about to explode with people arguing over which is better, iPhone or Samsung. Or
Look.
All that aside,
Apple is Apple, Android is Android. Like what you like, get what you want. Shut up otherwise.
Exactly. They all have great uses, but there is a large user base that is now that Fortnite is released on Android, they're being engaged. They're a very big revenue stream. My thoughts are, and I'd have to confirm this, I can look at my phone and figure it out. I think some of the Amazon apps that you have available, or on a Samsung device, which I have, has its own separate app store different from the Google Play Store. So it is possible to have a separate standalone thing. The only thing I will say about this little rift or this little argument is I wouldn't say it's a security thing. I wouldn't say that it's scary. I would potentially say it's a little shady for Epic to go to sidestep. They have this big viewer base. They have Google, who's also got a large community base. I guess I suck at business, because if I was Epic, I'd go and say, look, I can probably guarantee you this many million players coming through your Play Store, and I can give you a cut of the revenue. And Google can go, oh my God, I can put this together for you real quick, and let's hash it out. Somebody got greedy. Someone acted like a child, and they sidestepped. A little sketchy, but you know what? Epic is doing this whole two-factor thing anyway. If they were going through the same efforts with their security that they're doing with the consoles, or with the overall Epic account in general, it's no big deal.
Not really, no. It's not a huge thing. And I don't appreciate the fact that Google and some of the decriers are acting like this doesn't already happen all the time with sideloaded apps every single day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's granted, you know, well, it's not Epic. I get that too. So maybe Google should have played ball a little bit and said, well, because if they're that concerned, say, well, look, if you're that concerned about the money, we'll lower it by this much. Because if Epic doesn't come on, Google makes frick all. They make nothing, right? Mm-hmm. If they lower the, 15% of
nothing,
$1 billion is way more than 30% of zero.
Exactly. And, from my side of, from my content, I get a lot of supplies from a company called Games Workshop, and there have been numerous cases where licensing with this company have just died with other groups, because they'll come in and they'll throw their weight around and say, we want all these things. And it happened when they made a card game. It happened when they made all these other kinds of games, and there's a money struggle. I don't know from which side, but you see it happen all the time. And the two idiots in the room fighting over this, again, do you want 30% of nothing, or do you want 15% of $1 million? And yeah. I can't really do it as well as you, but maybe there's a in there somewhere. I don't know.
I can do all that stuff.
And I don't personally like switching the third-party apps thing on in my phone because it has stopped me in the past from kind of clicking yes on an alert that pops up, and you know, and that says you don't have third-party apps engaged. You have to use a Google Play Store. Fine, but you know, it's. I think it's dumb. They're gonna get over it. They're gonna figure it out, and they're gonna move forward. And right now, all this is just. There's no need for Epic to pull in this revenue. It's just icing on the cake. So they don't care. It's just bonus.
Right. I get it. Do you have anything to add or any other perspective other than Lavi be going me 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 me?
I mean, I worked in marketing my whole life, and so it's all it is. You know, honestly, in my opinion, it just makes Google look bad.
Sure.
And because, as you said earlier, it's no skin off Epic's back to not go onto Android because they're already making $1 gazillion a year or whatever it is. Does it? So why should they have to argue with Google? Google's the one who looks like idiots, in my opinion. But
fair. Speaking of people feeling like idiots, I want to save the best for last here. So I'm going to try and just put this one out. Cyberpunk stuff is out. Spoilers, I don't care at all. Like, it sounds like a great game. Just like Witcher is undeniably, objectively a really well-crafted game. I haven't played a single second of it. I probably never will. I respect it. That's awesome. People are like, well, it's like Witcher, but, you know, Blade Runner. You know, like, okay, cool. It sounds cool. Still won't play it. But people are losing their freaking minds over this game. And they're giving out these tiny little tidbits of information that really amount to nothing. And people are like, so we're going to talk about that.
Look, this is one of the best, most amazing marketing strategies I've seen. We're gonna talk about a game for God knows how long. We're gonna tease you with things for God knows how long, and we're gonna promise to release it sometime in the future. Now I know we're getting closer to an actual date, but before it used to be, before it used to be like we have no idea when it's coming. It's just it's out there, and you know I saw the teaser having the scrolling text and then having actual gameplay. Yeah, it's fantastic.
For those who don't know, there was 50,000 people watching literal gibberish on Twitch for like, how long was it? Like,
too long.
She said it.
Ridiculous. It was just like, what's the point?
The article title, just to nail that comedy point, a small city worth of people are watching absolutely nothing on Twitch. And then there's a screenshot of nothing but a black background and white text.
Yeah,
That's it.
It's crazy. Now, I'm not here to poop on you if you're into The Witcher or CD Projekt Red or you're excited for Cyberpunk. This, for me, is just a window into human nature. That's all it is. Nothing more, nothing less. And I hope the game does well. And maybe I'll play it. I don't know. Just funny stuff to me. And I thought it was a really cool, really? Like, this is what we're doing?
Yeah.
We'll see. You know, and like Mallet was saying, you know, you worked in marketing. This is brilliant. And it costs them next to nothing to do this and just be like, basically CD Projekt Red is doing this. Psst, we got a sci-fi game. People are like, and they're like, yeah. And it's been like that for like years. And it's like, here's text. And people were losing their minds. Like,
Squirrel. Text.
Exactly.
Text.
Yeah.
Cyber Squirrel.
We did have the same excitement. We had
Confirmed.
we had the same excitement with Fallout 76, right? They had a very long...
You did.
Well, they had a long running screen. Good night, everybody. I'm out.
Bye.
No, I'm kidding.
No, they
had. To be fair, they had a launch trailer for Forsaken this morning from Destiny. I was really excited. I didn't watch it, and then I started getting really, really, really pissed off when I saw people spoiling parts of the trailer in their retweets about the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
If you know it, dude, what even? Okay, like trailers, spoilers, whatever. Like, come on. Like, freaking have respect for other people. So, like, when we see stuff, like, I totally understand. I know that I'm playing it for laughs. I know that I'm being a jerk. It's meant in jest. I know what it's like to be hyped for something, and to constantly refresh a page that is an RSS feed for news about that game or whatever. And I do it every day. So I'm not making fun of it. I'm not.
Yep. So I've got a little quick take for you guys, because you know that I'm like the resident creative nerd, I guess.
Yes. Yes.
So you hear a couple of creative people complaining that there's not a lot of love for creative. There's not a lot of love for IRL unless you're an ASMR girl, But it's really nice because Business Insider reached out. I believe a lot of these are the more successful, more popular partners that were interviewed in this, but it goes through and it mentions kind of the lifestyle of the creative streamers. And I think they even introed this article with a little bit of clickbait, because the first line has ninja in it.
Right.
Or the second sentence has ninja in it. So they're talking about, you've got all this popularity out in gaming, but then this little tiny corner of Twitch, the corner that I like to live in, you've got all these other people, and they just go through and really kind of give some good examples of what it's like just to be that kind of IRL or creative streamer. The best thing about it, going through, I don't know all of these streamers' names, but going through, every person is, I'll say, properly clothed, so you don't have the IRL kind of things about the muscle guys and the half-dressed girls and all that stuff, right? They're legitimate streamers that are doing this for what I would say are legit reasons. Although,
I had no idea you could dance that well. He's dancing around the T word, all right?
I'm not going to say it.
T word.
But it has.
Just saying.
I'll take it. And I'll cut the difference. I will split it in the middle, right? It doesn't have the booby streamers being highlighted in this article. How about that? It's got people like.
Or I was gonna say the pectorally gifted streamers.
Fair enough.
Because that's both. See,
sure.
I didn't discriminate, and there's no bad word there. Do you think that
is booby a bad word?
What?
Is it?
No, booby is not a bad word. All right. Chat, we've got a poll going right now. Is booby a bad word? No, it's not a bad word.
No, it's a bird.
Bird is the word?
It's a bird.
Well, boobies are indeed. Yes, that's true. That's 100% true. And a buddy of mine, Arrow Garfield, and he said, "You guys want to see my boobies?" And he'll like show like this gigantic picture of birds, of booby birds. And his whole it was something that he started doing back during Watch Dogs 1, and I think it's amazing.
Yep.
It's amazing.
So just to highlight this article, I mean they mentioned the lifestyles of some of these people making essentially a living, right? On here, because there's a very, very tiny percentage of people that can successfully do that. We all wish we could, but most of us know we can't. And they broke down the article into the different categories again. So next month, right, we're blowing up creative, we're blowing up IRL, and we're gonna get something that seems a little bit more realistic to actually get some more visibility. And seeing this in a business article, seeing the success that we have with our big gaming streamers like Ninja, seeing creative and IRL getting love in business articles, it's really starting to work. And a lot of these different categories that are lesser known should start getting a little bit more respect that it deserves.
TLDR, this is GamerDad saying, "I'm a real streamer now because an article said so." And that's totally cool.
I'm a real streamer because I said so.
Okay. Self-actualization is there you go.
Yeah.
And for the record, all creative IRL streamers, anything in between, they're all real. If you put on the camera and you do what you love, you're real.
Yep.
Whether no people watch you or all the people watch you, it's real. Okay. There's no such thing in streaming as if the tree falls in there and your camera wasn't on. Did it indeed happen?
Mm-hmm.
No. It happens. And if someone wants proof, how many times have you had someone follow your stream and the alert didn't go off? That follow was still there. Okay, it's all real. It's all legit.
It all happens. So, Mallet. We don't have this on our list of things, but
no.
Got any Overwatch news for us? Since that's like
absolutely.
your world.
Here we go.
I've got tons of Overwatch news. The official did this weekend with the All-Star game. The Atlantic team defeated the Pacific team 3-2, including a Torbjorn hammer kill, which was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. World Cup has already finished the first round of group stages in Korea. The next round starts this upcoming weekend and will be going up through BlizzCon in November. Go Team USA! Go Team USA! And the competitive season 11 just ended today.
See, I just wanted to get her super excited.
I dug that. That was really cool.
Hey,
and
is there
if
really
you want to get really excited, and you have a podcast topic that you want to be excited about us talking about, email us at TRUtalk@TRUgaming.com or go to our website, TRUgaming.com, and social media links to contact us.
And remember to subscribe to our channels for episodes via YouTube, Twitch, iTunes, Spreaker, or as Jim likes to say, Spreaker, with lots of R's, SoundCloud, and now Spotify.
We'll be back in 1 week, taking me away from my much beloved Forsaken release date. Damn it. I can't right now. Like, I can't believe I'm going to take time out of a Destiny launch day to do this show. I love you.
We will do our best to not punish our special guest with that news either.
Right, and that special guest will be Treasure Hunter Tom. Woo! And I apologize in advance. I'm going to be whining and crying for an hour trying to make it through. Okay? I'm just saying. I'm going to be... It's fine. I'm joking, but we'll see you guys in a week with Treasure Hunter Tom. I will bitch and complain a little bit, but it'll be fun for you guys, not so much for me. It's okay.
We're going to even introduce 8 hours. We'll introduce bedtime stories with Jim, and we actually will bring out a couple of his favorite parts of the patch notes and let him read.
The patch notes got released today.
I know. Maybe we can reread them next week, or we can read something about the story or something with the release. We'll let you do something, Destiny.
There's a shotgun on my primary slot, okay?
Fantastic.
I'm really happy.
That's awesome.
Yes. But at any rate,
that's going to do it for us, I guess.
Make sure you guys check out the Discord at discord.gg/TRUgaming and tell all your friends, unless you're like me and you play Destiny, you don't have any, about the podcast.
I'll be your friend.
You are
I'll be your friend.
You're my friend too.
Yay!
Awesome.
Yay!
All right. Well, now I get to do the thing that annoys Jim most. Say goodnight, Jim.
Yes. No.
Say goodnight, Mallet.
Night.
Good night, everybody. Thank you very much for coming in. We appreciate you. We'll talk to you later.
Da ba dee da dee.